This conference will now be recorded.
Hi, today we're going to discuss about data integration with logical applications and SQL Server. In reference to the session, what is that are we talking about? Is majorly used to provide the kind of solution. What is that we are providing in reference to the Microsoft Azure? Majorly, these solutions are used to develop Azure logical applications to integrate cloud data into on-premise data storages and all that in regular intervals. At the same time, these are the services which are majorly used to understand the kind of workflows, what is that we are going to use, followed by the kind of API management, which accepts API calls in form of the HTTP request and all that stuff. At the same time, API management securely routes the HTTP request into logical apps. Whatever the HTTP request triggers and all, everything runs in the logical applications. These logical applications uses secure template parameters to retrieve the database credentials from Azure Key Vault. Logical app users and all transport layers security services to send the database credentials and as well as the database statements to the on-premises data gateway. Whereas on-premises data gateway connects to the SQL Server databases to run the statements. At the same time, this SQL Server stores the data and makes it available to the apps that users access it. At the same time, it is being used to Azure Monitor to collect the information on logical applications, events, and performances. In reference to the components we are talking about, this architecture majorly used for different components here, where Azure API management creates a consistent modern API gateways for backend services. Besides that, accepting API calls and routing them to backends. At the same time, this platform also be used to verify keys, tokens, certificates, and other credentials. At the same time, API management and other enforce users quotas and rate limits of the logical call metadata. Azure Logical Applications automate workflows by connecting apps and data across clouds. This services provides a way to securely access the process data in real time. Its serverless solutions takes care of hosting, scaling, managing, maintaining, and monitoring applications as well. At the same time, an on-premise data gateway acts as a bridge that connects on-premise data with cloud services like logical applications and all. Typically, it is being used to install the gateway on a dedicated on-premises virtual machine. The cloud services can then securely use on-premises data where Azure Key Vault stores and controls the access to secrets such as tokens, passwords, and API keys. Key Vault also creates a control encryption keys and manage security certificates, where this SQL Server provides a solution for storing and queuing structures and unstructured data. This database engine features industry-related performances and security, where Azure monitors collection of data and environments and Azure's resources. At the same time, this information is useful for maintaining availability and performances of other Azure services as well, such as Azure Storage and Azure Event Hubs. Can also use this diagnosed data. Two different platforms and all, everything will be used to make up monitor. Azure Monitor logs, records, and stores logs and performances data. For logical applications, the data includes information on trigger events, run events, and action events as well. At the same time, Azure Monitor Matrix collects numerical values at regular intervals for logical applications. This data includes the latency, rate, and success rate as well. When we talk about the alternatives, there are few alternatives exist for the solution. Instead of using an on-premise instance of a SQL Server, consider migrating to an up-to-date, fully managed Azure database services. This SQL Server connector that logical applications uses works for Azure SQL databases and Azure SQL managed instances. For more information, we see about the automated workflows for a SQL database by using Azure logical applications and all. To get started with migrations, make sure to see Azure database migration services for complex automation tasks, considering the Azure functionalities instead of using logical applications. For more information, when we want to know about comparing of Azure functions and Azure logical applications as well. For simple integrations and all, considering using Power Automated instead of logical applications. When we understand about the automated and logical applications, Power Apps also provide solutions for automating workflows that involve connecting to on-premise data sources also. When you talk about the scenarios, a logical application or HTTP request data in an SQL Server database, because logical application functions as a secure Azure API management endpoint, calls to your API can trigger various data-related tasks. Besides that, updating an on-premise database, you can also send Teams or email messages. Potential use cases use this solution to automate data integration tasks that your performance in response to the API calls itself. As far as the considerations itself is concerned, keep these points in mind when considerations this architecture. When you talk about availability, for a high availability, add the on-premises gateway to a cluster instead of installing a standalone gateway. At the same time, when you talk about the scalability with the serverless model that logic applications uses, the services automatically scales to meet the demand, but be aware of limits on that to read and write operations on the on-premises data gateway as well. When you talk about the security, the on-premises data gateway uses credential encryption and user authentication to provide data during transfers between on-premises and Azure systems also. API management helps you to ensure that only authorized clients call your logical application and also take these steps. Since API management is the only client that should call your logical applications, considering restricting your apps IP addresses and all, you configure your logical applications to only accept requests from the IP addresses of your API management services instances. You can also use one of these authorization schemes to limit access to your logical applications, like shared access signatures like SAS and all that. At the same time, Azure Active Directory open authentications. At the same time, considering using Azure role-based controls to only permitted specific users or groups to manage edits and logical applications. Information is available on each and every logic application runs, such as states, statuses, and duration inputs and outputs per action. Use of these applications and methods to control who can access the inputs and outputs in the run history. Restriction access by IP addresses ranges use obfuscation for secure run history data, cost optimization. Everything will be used as far as this process itself is concerned. To explore these strategies and everything, there is a minimization of logical application cost which is available. We need to run these SQL statements in batches, create stored procedures to organize data results in an efficient way. Specifying these precise triggers conditions for workflows, wherein turn off logical applications that doesn't have any runs constantly in all the premises. This is what majorly when we are working on the applications, something relating to Azure part. At the same time, when you are talking about the kind of efficiency what that it is being used here. At the same time, the kind of applications in reference to the data integration with logical applications and SQL Server, majorly used in Microsoft Azure platform. So this is all about the session and as well as this video. If you have any kind of queries regard to this video, at the same time, if you have any training requirements and all, you always have a choice where you can reach us our contact details, which will be posted below to this video. Thank you. Bye.